How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing this evening? How's everybody doing? This is the second half of the 2008 Wall Street meltdown to 2018 government shutdown. Let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it. We're just going to have an intimate conversation. The bottom line is to promote the importance of financial literacy. Tonight, the main objective is to promote the importance of financial literacy. I want to make that very clear. I'm not bashing the government. I'm not bashing Wall Street or anything specifically. My main objective is just to promote the importance of financial literacy. The importance of financial literacy is the bottom line. We're going to use these events of the 2008 Wall Street meltdown, as well as the 2018 government shutdown, as clarity. They're just going to confirm the importance. These events is just going to let us, we can't ignore it anymore. We can't ignore certain signs that's already on the wall. So I'm going to let a couple more people chime in. In the meantime, definitely get your pad and pen ready. Get your pad and pen ready, because it's gonna get real serious. We're gonna have a lot of information tonight. A lot of good information. So get your pad and pen out. Get it ready. For those who don't know, my name is Shawn Lewis, author, entrepreneur. My book is called The Right Approach to Financial Survival in America. You can get that book at my website, ShawnLewis.com. It's called The Right Approach to Financial Survival in America. Okay. For those who don't know, I have a lot of people have been following me. I appreciate your support, but there's a lot of people who have not met me as of yet. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. We're going to give it a little while longer to let a couple more people chime in. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone's having a blessed Sunday evening. Yes, knowledge is currency. Knowledge is currency. Knowledge is the new wealth. Knowledge is the new wealth. Letting a couple more people chime in. I'm ready. Yes. We're going to go ahead and get started, man. I'm real anxious. I say again, I repeat myself again. You have opinions about the 2008 Wall Street meltdown. You have opinions about the 2018 government shutdown. I'm not so much really here to talk about opinions directly. I'm mostly here to speak about facts. Please research this information that I'm sharing with you. Feel free to do your own research, take notes, and it's not about my opinions. It's not about that. It's about research and information. It's about information that's been gathered over a period of time, and from there, information don't lie. Research doesn't lie. Facts is facts. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into it. Tonight's discussion, we're talking about 2008 Wall Street meltdown to 2018 government shutdown. The reason for this discussion tonight, and it just gave me another opportunity to promote the importance of knowledge as currency, to promote the importance of financial literacy. We need more people to promote that. We need more people to help out in this crusade or this push or awareness of the importance of financial literacy. So tonight I really hope that I'm able to help a lot of people get some insight that they did not have prior to this live. And just it's about sharing information, So I'm gonna jump right into it. America historically have always tried to enslave and torture Black people. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be very direct. It's factual information. Research is out there, but I'm going to give a little more direct insight on why I make that comment. America historically have always tried to enslave and torture Black people. I stand on that comment. I'm not taking away from any other ethnic group out there, but I'm speaking about a topic that can be researched. And when I speak of enslavement and torture, of Black people, we can really take that all the way back to 1865, 1874. We can start with, it's called the Freemen's Saving and Trust Company. And let me give you a little insight on the Freemen's Saving and Trust Bank. You can research that. Please research that. The Freemen's Saving and Trust Bank. President Abraham Lincoln established the Freedmen's Bank on March 3rd, 1865, as part of the Freedmen's Bureau. As the Civil War drew to a close, the United States Congress and President Lincoln recognized the need to aid newly freed Black men and women in their transition to freedom. To support the land grants and other elements of the Freedmen's Bureau Act, a Freedmen's Bank was established to help newly freed Americans navigate their financial lives. Call it a financial literacy program of its day, going back to the importance of financial literacy. During its existence, the Freedmen's Bank maintained some 37 offices in 17 states. Let me repeat that. 17 offices in 17 states, including the District of Columbia. At its height, the bank had over $57 million in deposits. This is back in 1865. So let me kind of bring that to a smaller outlook. After the Civil War was over, Abraham Lincoln, he assisted in the freeing of slaves around that time period. So I think they said it was almost overnight, it was nearly 4 million African American men and women and children were freed. With the South in ruins, they faced disorder and danger. Most had no homes, no money, and no work. Their relatives were scattered all over the country and nearly impossible to find. To address the needs of the newly freed slaves, the U.S. government created the Bureau of Refugees, Freedom, and Abandoned Lands, commonly known as the Freedmen's Bureau. So basically, accumulation of 4 million slaves on top of the Black men who fought in the Civil War once the Civil War was over. Basically, they had to have a place to put their money. They had to have a place to store their money. So back in that time period in 1865, all the slaves accumulated the amount of $57 million in deposits. Let's just look at that for one quick second. And this is back in 1965. 1965. The history books in school never spoke about this. They never spoke about the slaves, the freed slaves had a bank. We never spoke about that. They never spoke about that being the first bank, black bank ever for black people, for slaves, even though the government created it, but it was a place where black people would put their money at. And when you get the amount of slaves who were freed in that time period, and the amount of people who have fought in the Civil War, when the Civil War ended, no matter the amount it was an amount of money that they wanted to put away, that they wanted to have safe, so it couldn't be stolen, or lost. So they was proud to have a location to actually put their money, which they called it the Free Man's Bank. Okay, because this is where slaves would go about to put their money that they accumulated over days, weeks, and months. So when you look at the time period of that bank existence, it was from 1865 to 1874. The bank failed in 1874, and many depositories lost their savings. Let's get into that part. Now, the bank was created in 1865. Okay, 1865. So from 1865 to 1874, it had accumulated $15.7 million in deposits. In 1874, when it failed, it says the bank failed in 1874 and many depositors lost their savings. $57 million. That's not a little money back in that time period. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. We got to talk about this, because we can look at the government shutdown. We can look at the Wall Street meltdown, but it's a pattern. It's not things and events that's just happening. It's really distractions. They're really distractions from the truth of what's really going on behind closed doors, the truth of what the real agenda is, So when you look at back at that time period of 1865, the amount of money that $57 million is, come on. $57 million right now is a lot of money. Today in this 2019. So I'm not bashing the government. This is not about bashing the government, but we have to speak facts. We have to speak facts. Okay, let's go back. It says the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company was a private corporation chartered by an act of the U.S. government signed in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln. Okay, let's finish this story. 5 weeks after the creation of the Freedmen's Bank, President Lincoln was assassinated. 7 years later, in June of 1872, the U.S. Congress voted to permanently close the Freedmen's Bureau. The bank, however, remained operational in 1874. Frederick Douglass was asked to run the Freedmen's Bank as its D.C. branch relocated to a new home across from the U.S. Department of Treasury. Man, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about facts. You know, you don't have to have a suit on and graduate from Harvard. You don't have to be an accountant with all these credentials and master's degrees who graduated from Princeton, to understand the facts. These are facts. The facts is the facts. We're talking about financial literacy now, the importance of financial literacy. That's what the topic is. Okay, but we're gonna get deep down and under. We're gonna get to the core of financial literacy, the banking system, in the agenda of how the banking system is set up, how they go about promoting saving money on one end, but they set up ways for you to go in debt on the other end through credit cards. Let's talk about it. We're just speaking about the facts. That's it. We're just speaking about the facts. ShawnLewis.com is the website. Knowledge is currency. There's no way around it. Knowledge is currency. The more you read, the more you research on your own. Don't just wait for people to tell you about a loan and the interest rate, pardon me. Research it, learn it. Learn about interest rates. Learn about your interest rate on your mortgage. Learn about the interest rate that you're paying on these credit cards. Don't just be put into a situation where you're involved in money and you're not doing your own due diligence and your own research. So when you look at the realities of the financial climate that the economy is in right now, it's nothing new, is what I'm getting at. Before it was a 2008 Wall Street meltdown. Now it's the government shutdown. It is just different names, but it's the same tactics is being used, making more and more people go in debt. This really should be called the debt business. Ultimately, it should be called the debt business, because the end result of people mishandling money or not having money to pay their bills is debt. And once people go into debt, who normally owns the debt? The banks own the debt, But let's not really get off a topic here. When we can go all the way back to 1865 and see the same patterns from 1865 to 2008, and from 2008, we can see the same patterns in 2018. We have to start paying attention to what's going on when it comes to how we're going about handling money and saving money, putting ourselves in a stronger position when it comes to our finances. Because when you really look at those incidents, when you go back to the financial crisis of 2008, the financial meltdown, that was the cause of subprime lending, okay? I got some information that came from CNN News and News Weekly. It reads, subprime lending standards declined in the U.S. In early 2000s, a subprime borrower had a FICO score of 660 or less. By 2005, many lenders dropped the required FICO score to 620, making it much easier to qualify for prime loans and making subprime lending a risky business. Okay. Loans moved from full documentation to low documentation to no documentation. Let's talk about it, people. Come on, man. We got to wake up. We got to wake up. We got to really start doing our own due diligence. You know, we have to. Because the proof is there. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. You know, loans move from full documentation to low documentation to no documentation. One subprime mortgage product that gained wide acceptance with the no income, no job, no asset verification required, which is called the Ninja Mortgage. So once you get at a point where all of these bad loans is being given out, of course, people are not going to be able to pay on that loan. The owner of the loan is the banks. So if the banks give out thousands and thousands of bad loans to people who can't afford them, once it comes to pay the loans and the loan is in default, the person who owns that loan is the bank, is the lender. So of course there's going to be a meltdown. Of course there's going to be a financial crisis, because when you really look at the Fed, the Federal Reserve is set up to do what? To regulate. So when you look at the regulation of the banking industry, why would you allow banks to lend money to loans that they knew that were bad in the first place, and multiply that by thousands and thousands and thousands of people, thousands and thousands of loans? The financial crisis of 2007 and 2008 is known as the global financial crisis, and the 2008 financial crisis is considered by many economists to have been the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression in the 1930s. It's not so much a crisis. It's not so much a crisis. You know, what it is an agenda. You know, an agenda that has been set up, going all the way dating back to 1865, an agenda to manipulate people into going into debt. It's set up by design in so many ways. You know, it's just something that is renamed, is put in a different picture, but it's the same thing that's going on. You know, so the thing is financial awareness. The thing is educating yourself on what has been going on in the past versus what's going on in the present. It all tells a story. Nothing is new. Nothing is new that the banks is doing, the loans that they're offering. Nothing is new about the process. The process stays the same when it comes to dealing with credit, when it comes to dealing with how you handle money. The more you're educated on how to handle your money, the better you're going to be when it comes to managing and saving and putting to the side an emergency fund. It's not that easy. It's not easy at all. It's harder to say than to actually do it. And the only thing I want to talk about right now is the importance of financial literacy. Because no matter what's going on, no matter what happened back in 1865, and please research that information. Please research that information. The Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, 1865 to 1874. And this is the same government. This is the same government back then that's operating and dealing with the banking system as the same government that was In 2008, Wall Street meltdown, the same government that's right now. 2018 government shutdown. It's the same government. My main objective is to bring light to the truth, the facts. When it comes to finances, you have to be self-motivated, self-independent. You have to take the initiative to build your credit up. Even if you have bad credit, okay? It takes time to build your credit up. There's no quick fix to build your credit up and to build your finances up, but you got to start the process somewhere. You have to start the process. Quit being lazy. I'm just going to say it. I have to follow that same rule. I have my times and my periods where I'm just lazy, where I know I should be more proactive, with learning how to use my money wisely when it comes to spending money, when it comes to saving money, when it comes to managing money. And once I started holding myself accountable, that's when I was able to write a book about it, The Right Approach to Financial Survival in America. That's when I was able to see, by being proactive and taking small steps in the beginning and then start taking bigger steps, you will start to see the change in your finances, your credit. You start to see, instead of at the end of every month, you're not having no money after you pay off all the bills, to starting to see $200 or $300 after all the bills is paid. It's like a building process. You have to start the process for you to actually, in reality, get out of the financial discomfort that you're in, that we're in. When it comes to credit, when it comes to physical money, you have to have a system, man. There's no easy way around it. There's no easy way around it. The importance of financial literacy is to be proactive, is to read books, go online, do research, be a part of different, social groups that, save money. There's so many different things out there that can help people just be proactive, but you need to take the initiative, because, we're starting to see the economy move right or left. We don't know what decisions is going on. I think they said it was 800,000 people who were out of jobs in this past government shutdown. 800,000 people. That's a lot of debt. That's a lot of debt being accumulated. It's a lot of debt. So let's kind of have a recap real quick before I move forward. We talked about the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company. That was back in 1865. It was a bank that was created by Abraham Lincoln to assist newly freed slaves back at that time. Newly freed slaves, a place to put their money. The people who were fighting in the Civil War, once the war ended, it was a place where they can put their savings and their money. So I only want to point out and shed light on that the same government back, they created this, it's called the, One quick second. Okay, here it is. It's called the Freedmen Savings Bureau. The Freedmen Savings and Trust Company was a private corporation chartered by an act of the U.S. government. I'm only just pointing out the facts. The government was behind creating that bank for slaves that accumulated $57 million So from the years of 1865 to 1874, slaves had accumulated $57 million back in that time period. And what did it say? The bank failed in 1874, and many depositors lost their savings. Come on. What are slaves going to say back at that time period? Who are they going to complain to? What systems is set up for slaves to go and say, the government took my money? There was no government set up in the play. There was no system that was policing the government to protect the slaves' money. It's the same government that allowed the 2008 Wall Street meltdown. Because when you look at the banking system is supposed to be regulated by the Federal Reserve, because you have regional banks, then you have national banks, then you have, small banks. But the banks that matter is the regional banks and the national banks. Those are policed by the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve bailed out banks. How do you bail a bank out? Let's just give that some thought. How do you bail a bank out? The Federal Reserve extended the aid to up to nearly $9 trillion in short-term loans. The amount stretched the Fed's legal authority, so they stretched their legal authority on a whole. Wall Street giant Goldman and Sachs bailed out at $6 billion. Morgan and Stanley bailed out at $2.3 billion. Bank of America bailed out at $16.65 billion. Merrill Lynch bailed out at $2.6 trillion. Lehman Brothers bailed out at $9 trillion. Come on, AIG bailed out. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mac are federal funded entities. How do you bail them out? The Royal Bank of Scotland, that's international. That's an international bank. That's not even in America. The Federal Deposit Insurance Company, that's the FDIC. How do you bail them out? So the same government back in 1865 who mishandled $57 million of slaves' money is the same government who was set up in the play to allow the financial crisis of 2008. That crisis was based on subprime lending, weak fraudulent underwriting practices. The banks were giving out the loans. The banks, what does it say? It went from loans moved from full documentation to low documentation to no documentation. The banks are supposed to be held accountable for that because they're the one giving the loans. So knowingly giving out bad loans to people who couldn't afford the interest rate or the payments, you gave them out anyway. And because of the cause of that, of course, the bubble is going to bust. Of course, it's going to be a financial crisis. Why wouldn't you think it's going to be a financial crisis? So now, because there was a financial crisis, knowingly, intentionally almost, facts. Look at the facts. Do your research. The financial crisis of 2007, 2008, also known as the global financial crisis. That was a global financial crisis. You got all of the top major banks on Wall Street. They needed to get bailed out. So just what does that say about the banking system? To me, it says you can't depend on the banking system alone. You have to educate yourself. Financial literacy is the bottom line of you securing your family's well-being. It's the bottom line. Financial literacy is the bottom line. Educate yourself, educate your family, read books, constantly monitor what your finances is. You know, my book is a good book, The Right Approach to Financial Survival in America. It's not the only book. There's other good books out there. My book is just one of many good books, that you can get that will assist you in building your finances up as well as building your credit up. It will definitely give you a strong insight to someone who knows nothing about saving money or credit. It will give you a strong insight and foundation on where to start. The Right Approach to Financial Survival in America is a book that I feel that every single mom, every college graduate, every single parent, every family needs, because it's a roadmap that shows you where to go and how to go about it when it comes to saving money and managing money and fixing your credit. So just a recap, man, I want to point out that we're here tonight to promote the importance of financial literacy. We're only using these topics of the 2008 Wall Street meltdown, the 2018 government shutdown, as this confirmation of the importance of financial literacy. That's all we're doing. When you look at the decision makings of the president of shutting down the government, that decision affected hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people financially. So if you were one of those people who were practicing financial literacy, managing money, saving money, putting aside an emergency fund, you were not affected as bad as someone who wasn't prepared at all. They was living paycheck to paycheck. You may have been struggling, but you weren't struggling to the extent of hundreds of thousands of other people were struggling financially. That's the bridge. People who practice managing money, saving money, spending money, they develop a system, and the system that they follow is what helps discipline them to save money. Whether it be an emergency fund, whether it be saving for a trip, whether it be adding to your savings, you have to put yourself in a position financially every month to be able to pay more than just bills. You can't just work just to pay bills off. You can't. You have to restructure your game plan when it comes to making money. You have to either get a better job, a second job, a third job, but at the end of that month, your income has to change. If your income doesn't change, your financial problems won't change. They're going to stay the same. Only thing I'm pointing out is confirmation of the importance of financial literacy. Let's go into the government shutdown real quick. Our system of government was built by men who predicted Our system of government was built by men who predicted and feared an out of control president. So they built another more powerful branch of government, able and expected to check a raging executive, which is Congress, supposedly. Not the president comes first in the Constitution, but it's Congress. So when you're dealing with government and when you're dealing with things that people are supposed to do, you're putting your hope in other people's hands. You're putting your faith in other people's hands when it comes to your livelihood and you provide it for your family. I'm a firm believer in you have to educate yourself to better your situation. There's no way around it. you're not going to better your situation if you don't try something new. You can't just work the same job Monday through Friday, complain about working too many hours. You can't complain about not making enough money and it's just complaining. That's it. You have to make some changes eventually. You have to find something different so you can get different results when it comes to your finances. Because it said 800 federal workers or more can be placed on temporary leave without receiving pay in the event of government shutdown. 850,000 people. You not only dependent on the government to do the right thing, but you work for the government. It's a rude awakening. It's a wake-up call. Because when you look at the realities of the banking system and when you look at federal and state, everything is controlled by the government. Facts is facts, man. When you look at the facts, you're in a better position to make better decisions for you and your family when it comes to your finances. Financial literacy is it's either two things. You're either financially literate, or you're financially illiterate. You're either financially literate or you're financially illiterate. When you're financially illiterate, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you mishandle money. When you're financially illiterate, it means that how you handle money is putting you in debt, is pushing your father in debt. It's making you stay in poverty when you're financially illiterate. Where now, being financially literate, you have to depend on assistance, whether it be government assistance, family assistance. You have to find help from an outside source when you're financially illiterate. What my main objective is to share information, to help lead people to understand the importance of financially literate, to be financially literate, the importance of just financial literacy. This government activity that's been going around, it's nothing new. Debt is a business. The banks, they push people into debt so the banks could be on the other side of holding and owning the debt that you owe. It's a setup from go. Credit is a setup. Credit is a setup. Credit cards are banks' biggest lending product. I'm going to say that again. Credit cards are banks' biggest lending product. Banks lure the customers into debt by getting them to use credit cards. Facts. Facts. When you look at the most debt is accumulated through credit cards. And normally, most credit card companies and banks, they target college students. Let's call it what it is. So my main objective is to bring awareness to the importance of financial literacy. That's what tonight is about. That's what my main objective of even doing this live is about, to promote the importance of financial literacy. The distractions of the 2008 Wall Street meltdown, it was a financial distraction. This 2008 government shutdown, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. But in the midst of it being a distraction, 850,000 people are being affected financially. So 850,000 households financially are being affected by a decision that the government made. Is the same government that took $57 million of slave money from the slaves who were newly freed. So the main objective is self-empowerment. You have to empower yourself. We have to empower ourselves when it comes to our finances, when it comes to building our credit up, when it comes to putting aside an emergency fund when the unexpected emergency comes up, whether it be our kids, whether it be our car, we get into a car accident, whether, our car breaks down, your husband's car or your wife's car break down, and a financial emergency can come up at any time. You want to be able to have an emergency fund set aside for that type of emergency when it comes to your finances. You don't want to have to worry about going into your check or going into your savings account to deal with an emergency. It's an emergency. Your savings is to save. So my main objective is to continue to promote the importance of financial literacy. You can follow me on Facebook. Knowledge is currency. Shawn Lewis is my Facebook name. Shawn Lewis. Knowledge is currency. My website is ShawnLewis.com. I would love to network with you. Through my books. I do seminars. From the West Coast to the South to the East Coast. When you want me to come and do a seminar at your church or at a venue, just please reach out, contact me. I love and come and share information that has not only helped me, that has helped thousands of people. I've sold thousands and thousands of copies of my book. I get testimonies all the time. There's lots of testimonies on my website. And, I'm no expert, I'm just a person who has been blessed with knowledge in the area. And I just share the information that I'm learning. It's not about a race. It's about knowledge and empowerment. It's about learning and sharing what you learn with the next person. I choose to learn about finances, investments. I choose to learn about things that's going to help me build my finances up. Only thing I do is I share what I learn. If I don't know it, I'll research it. If there's something about trust funds, irrevocable trusts, IPOs, real estate investments, commercial investments, residential investments, different, investments on Wall Street. These are all different avenues to make money, but you have to research, how to go about applying those avenues to make you money. If you're not good in that area, you got to partner up with someone who is. You have to make some moves happen to have your situation change for the better. Smart Mind Apparel is one of my companies. It's an apparel line to promote thinking smart and being smart. But I'm using this platform to promote the importance of financial literacy to college students. My main objective is to target young adults, college students who are just now starting to get into the world and learning how to save money, graduating from college and starting their lives. I want to have this information accessible to them. I do seminars at colleges, churches. I do seminars for real estate agents. Um, at the end of the day, information is power. Information is power. The more information you have access to is the better decisions you're going to make. So that being said, thank you for tuning in. I definitely appreciate for you taking out the time to listen to this live. It's so much more information that I have, but in this short amount of time, I can't cram it all in this short amount of time. But if you want to reach out and find out more information and just learn, just stay tuned. Stay tuned to the group, Knowledge is Currency group. You can follow me on Facebook as well. Go to my Facebook page, Shawn Lewis, Knowledge is Currency. Any questions, any things of that nature, let's network. Let's keep it simple, man. Let's network. If I don't have the answers for you, I can help you get the answers. And we can just start there, okay? So 2008 Wall Street meltdown to 2018 government shutdown. Those were just distractions. Those were financial distractions that will either hinder most people financially and a small few people who were already practicing financial literacy is just going to make them have more confirmation of the importance of what they were doing. It's a lot of people had emergency fund. Believe it or not, it was a lot of people. When I say a lot of people, you got hundreds of thousands of people who were out of their jobs. And I refer to a lot of people, I'm referring to, there was probably like a nice handful of about anywhere, and this is my opinion, anywhere from like 3 to 15,000 people who, regardless on the government shutdown or not, they had a little nest egg set aside because they were already saving money. They were already putting money away. They already had real estate investments. They already had some sort of other streams of income coming in outside of their paycheck. But there was a large percentage of people who financially are struggling, are suffering very bad because of that shutdown. So I just felt a need to do a live to just shed light on not only this government shutdown, but other things that is events that happen that has been similar to this government shutdown. This government shutdown is just, it's the same government, but they're utilizing a different distraction. I think it always for their end, it comes back to debt. The more debt they own, the more lives they control. The more debt they own is the more lives they control. And the key thing is, and the main objective is to work towards being debt-free. That's the main objective. You have to create a game plan. You have to create a game plan. You can say you want to have good credit, but when you get good credit, do you know how to keep good credit? When you say that you want to have money and you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, well, what if you were put in that position? Would you know how to handle that extra money? Would you know how to save it? Would you know how to manage it? So saying that to say it all goes back to the importance of financial literacy. It's not the government. It's not your job. It's you. It's you. All right. People, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking out. Hopefully you took notes. Hopefully you took notes. I said a lot of really good stuff. I really hope you took notes and research it. Everything I talked about, research it. Please leave comments if there's anything that I may have left out that you can teach me. Okay, but for now, knowledge is currency is the motto. Knowledge is currency. Knowledge is currency. All right, 2019 is a new year, new money, new ideas. Okay, debt is something that you choose to keep, or you can choose to get rid of your debt. And you get rid of your debt by being proactive. All right, knowledge is currency. I want you guys to have a nice evening. Please, please, please be safe. Please be safe, and be looking out for the next live. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.